Hey everybody, this is Random Fix, and when I was younger, I was about 18, I lived in Buffalo, New York. I was a bill collector. So I know a few things about finance, bill collection, and some of the laws that you need to really pay attention to so you can go ahead and make sure that nobody's taking advantage of you. So I'm going to go ahead and cover the statute of limitations on credit cards today, what they are, how they can go ahead and actually benefit you, and how you could potentially get out of paying for this debt. I'm going to go and break this down, and I'm going to go ahead and try to keep the video brief, but there's so much information to go ahead and cover. I'm not going to make a second follow-up video to this or make it weekly guide because I feel there's a lot of junk on YouTube, and I don't want to be that guy for you guys. So I'm going to make one video that covers 99% of it, and all you have to do is look up your own state's statute of limitations, and hopefully I can help you guys stay out of this crazy credit card situation that's happening here, as these credit card companies are insane. So I'm going to go ahead and cover some pretty crazy things with you guys, and it's up to you guys on how you want to go ahead and take this information. And generally, I think when people have the money to pay their credit cards, they generally do, as I went through a situation when I was younger and somebody racked up over $170,000 on my credit cards, but I didn't charge it. So guess what, guys? I had to learn how to play hardball. And in this video today, I'm gonna show you guys how to go ahead and play hardball as well. But understand, I am not a lawyer, which is amazing because I am not gonna get you to try to call me so I can go ahead and charge you for what I'm gonna go ahead and share with you guys in this video. And I'm gonna hop behind my computer. We're gonna go over the average interest rate right now. We're gonna go over the default rate. We're gonna talk about what you should ask for and how you can go ahead and basically give the junk debt buyer the little finger and say bye-bye, and basically keep yourself from having to work the rest of your life so you can pay your credit card payments if you're in the situation. Let me go ahead and jump into my computer. Boop. All right, so if you're checking out this video, chances are you have some credit card debt and you want to go ahead and get out of it. You just don't know what to do. That's what this whole video is going to be about. I'm going to let you know what are your options and some things you can do and some things that maybe you cannot do, so you can go ahead and save yourself that drama of getting kicked in the face by life when it doesn't work out your way. So always have a plan B. And so I'm going to go ahead and dive into this credit card statute of limitations with you guys. First, before I go ahead and do that, let me tell you guys my story, just so you guys understand why I'm making this video, because there's a bunch of videos I can go ahead and make. I just don't like making videos for the sake of making videos because it takes up everybody's time. If you guys agree with me on this, please go ahead and like the video. And if you guys see another channel that is just taking up your time and just releasing video after video about the same stupid topic, just trying to go ahead and make it into micro sections, go ahead and unfollow that channel, because I'm seeing YouTube littered with this crap. And in this video today, I'm really going to try to give you guys a 359-degree view of this. So the only thing you really have to look at is your state-specific rules, as I cannot cover all 50 states here, and there's little nuances. Sometimes these can change by county, and this can change if you try to go ahead and make your credit card open revolving line into a flex option, which is available on some credit cards now. So just be very careful with what you do and how you do it, as it can go ahead and just create more drama for you in the future. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So my name is Random Fix, and I started this channel with the idea of helping people learn from some of my lessons in life. As I get a little bit older, I have a few more lessons and a few more things that I've learned. And some of the things I learned from just the occupations I have actually done over the years, which included working as a bill collector. I sucked at that. Worked as a finance manager. I was okay with that. Ran a car dealership. I understood the business. Then I went ahead and I jumped into the real estate brokerage world, ran a broker, and really understood what to do in real estate. So I understand business a little bit. And I also have my mortgage license. So I understand some of the really technical aspects of debt collection that you need to go ahead and be aware of. So I'm going to go ahead and try to break this down for you guys, letting you guys know what the statute of limitations is, which is basically a time limit on how long a creditor has to go ahead and collect this debt from you. And depending on what state you live in, it ranges normally from 3 to 6 years. Some states have statute of limitations over 10 years. So that is a pretty long time. In situations like that, you may want to consider talking to an attorney. If you're going to go ahead and get a judgment in the next 15 years, it could really cost you. So make sure you have a plan. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and try to break down in this video. So now that we know what the statute of limitations is in general, let's go ahead and see how it affects you. So let's just say you got into credit card debt because the credit card companies are crazy. And right now the credit card interest rates are so high. Let's go ahead and pull up a chart so I can show you guys. All right, so we're on lendingtree.com here, and we have a graph here. And it's not really accurate as the real rates are a lot higher. Average credit card interest rate is 24.08 and the default rate is 28.58, which is super high. They want you to fall behind because once you fall behind, you're going to go ahead and pay them more interest. So this is crazy. In this graph, we can see how it's really changed over the years. When I got into my credit card debt back in the 2006, 2007 times, and guys, to be honest with you, on this credit card debt, I actually didn't start the spiral. It was somebody else that basically maxed the hell out of my credit cards. And I don't want to use bad language here, but it was a really frustrating experience. And I tried to do the right thing. I reached out to all the creditors, and the debt was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it really messed up my life for a little while because I tried to do the right thing, but they just were not listening. And the card companies basically have their own lawyers, and no matter what you say, at the end of the day, they'll go ahead and change a decision only to change it back the next day. 3 times they went ahead, said, okay, hey, you're right about this. I got it credited back to my account, and then boom, a couple of months later, they found out they couldn't collect from the other person. So guess who they put in charge? They put me in charge to go ahead and pay that. These guys are always looking for somebody to pay. It's just like a casino, guys. A casino always wins. And when it comes down to credit cards and creditors, they want to go ahead and win even when they're being unfair. You guys are going to figure that out a little bit throughout this video, that the playing field is really not even. And I'm going to help you guys get the playing field a lot more even in this video. So this is how things have changed. As you guys can see, there's definitely a skyrocketing interest rate here for credit cards. So imagine if you have credit card debt, you're going to be basically working the rest of your life just to go ahead and make the minimum payments, guys. If you guys are going through this, please, please, please watch the video in its entirety, make a plan for yourself, and get yourself out of this situation. Life is too short, and guess what, guys? Something I'm going to cover later in the video, there's not a debtor prison out there. So you're not going to go to jail. No one's going to come and break your leg if you went ahead and you made some bad decisions, because our consumerism in the United States is basically set up for that. Basically, we're supposed to just go work, and as soon as we get off work, we gotta go and spend that money and just keep swiping that card over and over and over. Sometimes you gotta laugh at this and just say, okay, what are we really doing here? And what we are doing is making each other suffer because some people that just want to go ahead and be extra greedy. All right, so now we know what the default rate and the interest rate on average is. Let's go ahead and check out this from thebalancedmoney.com. This is going to be the state statute of limitations. This applies to several different debts, including credit card debt. Oral debt is basically where you and I talk about something, but we don't go ahead and write something up. So in Alabama, you have 6 years to go ahead and file this lawsuit. And if it was a written contract, let's just say you went ahead and you signed something for it, it would be 6 years as well. Promissory, think about this as a house. And open basically means something that has an open limit. So sometimes credit cards are going to go ahead and fall into here. And depending on who's arguing and where they live, they're going to go ahead and try to say it's written. As you guys will see, not all states are like Alabama. So some states have different limits for between oral and written. So for example, in Illinois, we have 5 years for open and 10 years for written. So that is a huge difference in time. That's why you want to be extra sure on what you're doing and what your strategy is, and when you think this game of waiting is going to go ahead and end. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this game and see if you want to go ahead and play it. Because guess what? Credit card companies are playing this game with you guys. You guys just don't know it. And so I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about this. So you might be asking yourself, what is this game that the credit card companies are playing? They're playing a game of extend the time. They want to extend the time of possibly running into more money when you run across money. So they understand that you might not have the money. Trust me, they understand this. However, they want to basically abuse you until you pay. So how are they going to do this? They want to get you to slip. They want to get you to slip by acknowledging the debt, making a payment so it extends the time again, or being able to serve you with the summons. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, and getting a default judgment. Once they get this default judgment, it's like a home run. The money's in the bag. And some of these judgments can last for 5, 10, 15 years. And during that time, you're going to run across money in your life. It happens to everybody. When I was younger, I couldn't imagine having $10,000 in the bank. As I get older, money sometimes runs into your life. We get pay raises, and they are basically cashing in on this open window that you have in life of possibly doing better. So we're going to go ahead and beat these guys at their game of keeping the time right at bay and not extending it. And I'm going to show you guys how to play games really well in this video. If you guys want to go ahead and go about it this route, if you guys run into money and you have the option to go ahead and pay them, you can go ahead and decide that for yourself. Just know that over the lifespan of your account, they have made so much money and interest off your account that you've probably paid them back 2 or 3 times what your credit limit is. You just never really sat there and you figured it out. And that's all I got to say about that. Back to the video behind the computer. So this credit card debt is really going to make you nervous, as it did to me. And just thinking about the idea of having to go to court, being put under testimony and struggling, and there's a lot of shame in this. And one thing that happens when you are dealing with credit card debt and trying to figure out a plan, you're going to sometimes feel stressed out and you want to go ahead and just pull that cord and you want this to be all over with. That's where bankruptcy can sometimes come in. I'm going to give you guys my personal experience with bankruptcy, as I never filed for bankruptcy. I didn't petition, but I went and talked to an attorney. I gave him $600. The total amount was probably about $1,200 to $1,800, but I didn't end up going with it because I realized it was just a waiting game. I just had to go ahead and play this game, and this is what I discovered. And at first, I was really nervous. I had to go ahead and make some alterations in the way I communicated when I was answering my phone. And things like that sometimes can suck. But guess what, guys? I didn't end up paying the $100-something thousand that I didn't personally charge. And after I figured out a plan, I wrote it down, guys. I went ahead and I am here with you guys today. I have perfect credit, and you guys can go ahead and do the same. So if you guys want to play this game, go ahead and stay tuned, as I'm going to go ahead and cover this with you guys a little bit more. So each state is listed here. I happen to live in California. So in California, oral contracts are for 2 years and everything else is 4. So when does the 4 years begin? That's what you're probably asking yourself. So the 4 years begin the day you first missed your payment or when the account was charged off. And a lot of people have a bad idea of charge off. Charge off basically means that the creditor said that your account is worth 0 on their books, but legally you still owe that money, guys. So just keep that in mind. If you talk to somebody and they say your account is charged off, that doesn't mean that you're not responsible for the debt. You're still responsible, but you can go ahead and exercise your rights. And sometimes exercising your rights means not doing anything. So this is going to go later on into my tips. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you guys what to do. If you guys are asking yourself what happened to that $600 that I gave the attorney, just like interest, it went up in the air towards nothing. But what I did realize when I was talking to the attorney was that I should not be filing for bankruptcy, because the bankruptcy was going to stay on my credit for 10 years. And even though it was easy, it just required a little bit more money. I could realize that in less than the 2 years I had remaining, I would be off this little credit situation that I had going on, and all the money that I saved from not making payments to this creditor that I did not go ahead and spend on my own was going to basically allow me to buy a lot of the things that I wanted cash. So I was able to go into a dealership and buy a car cash instead of having to take a loan, just because I saved so much money. I know it sounds crazy, but guys, trust me, if you look at your credit card statements over the year and you realize how much money you paid in interest, I think some of you guys are really going to have to go and just say, okay, well, this is an option. My credit sucks, but I have enough money to go pay cash for this. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. For me, that's not personally a bad thing. However, I would like to have the cash to pay for something if I want. And I also like having good credit at the same time. And I think you guys are in the similar boat as me if you guys are watching this video. Because I know generally people want to do the right thing, but things do get in the way of life. And so this video is basically for informational purposes only. You have to make a decision for yourself. I cannot think for you and decide for you, as each person's situation is different. Your location makes a huge difference. If you guys were in a state like North Carolina, guys, I would go ahead and wait it out, because in North Carolina, after 3 years, that debt is gone. Not only is it past the statute of limitations, the creditor cannot harass you anymore, because if you live in a state like California and you're on your fifth year of this debt, they can't legally go ahead and try to sue you for the debt. However, they can still call you and they're annoying, yada, yada, yada. You guys get the picture. Look at where you live. Some of the states are so favorable to debtors, and it's going to be easy. All you got to do is wait it out. And I'm going to show you guys some waiting out tricks if you guys want to go ahead and do that, because this is what I had to do and it worked, guys. Again, make your own decision. And since I was a bill collector and not an attorney, I know some of the tricks that bill collectors are going to try to go ahead and use. And as soon as they get you down this little rabbit hole, trust me, guys, everything is going to go ahead and fall apart in your plan. So you want to make sure that you execute everything in your plan down to the T. You cannot go ahead and slip one day and acknowledge the debt, because now you went ahead and put yourself 4 years back. You do not want to do this, guys. So I'm going to give you guys lots of ideas, lots of simple things you can do that you probably didn't know would make a huge difference. And the truth is, guys, they can either make your plan or break your plan. So let's go down this list really quick. So we have Alabama here, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California is right here, Florida, Hawaii. Talked about this earlier. 10 years. Wow, okay, that's got to be a very long plan. Kentucky, guys, look at this. 15 years for this. This is going to be very, very hard. I think this is going to be for promissory. So think of a mortgage. That is really a long time. So just be aware of that. Maine, 20 years. Wow, guys, I did not know a 20-year statute of limitations applied, but here it is in Maine. We got 20 years. That is going to be a very hard to execute plan, as 20 years, a lot of things happen. You're going to run into money, and these guys are going to go ahead and be able to garnish your wages. Yeah, that's not going to be fun. Keep in mind where you live. So pay special attention to what's happening in your state. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about, in case you decide to move from state to state, as there's a lot of people migrating around the country. Montana. Look at this, New Hampshire. These guys are amazing. 3 years all across the board except for residential mortgages, but no income tax. And then you got this statute of limitations of 3 years for credit card debt. Pretty cool place if you guys ever been up there. North Carolina, guys, this is like the super duper state, and there's a couple other states like this. 3s all the way across. And they have that rule after the 3 years. Basically, the creditor's SOL, and SOL in that sentence is not statute of limitations. It's basically going to be poop out of luck. So you guys figured it out. I don't actually cuss on YouTube videos. So we got Oklahoma. Well, look at this, Rhode Island, 10 years straight across. That is harsh. Tennessee, 6 years. Vermont, Wyoming. We got 8s and 10s. So pay special attention to that. I'm going to leave you guys a link to this article in the description box, so check that out. And if you guys think you're the only ones that are suffering from credit card debt, guys, this is the Fed economic chart right here. So this is officially from the St. Louis Fed. And we can look at credit card debt here. This is where my credit card issue happened. And back then we had about $291 billion with a B in credit card debt. And guess what, guys? Now we are sitting up here, almost near $1 trillion. This does not include auto loans. So this number is super, super high. You guys, there's 1,000 billions and a trillion. In case you forgot that, this is just crazy how much these credit card companies are going to go ahead and just take advantage of the general public, because not only are they going to charge you more interest. I personally believe that all these big companies are in bed with one another, and there are basically, I don't want to say it, racketeering to go ahead and charge us higher amounts just so we're going to have to go and take out that credit card. And if I haven't mentioned it, normal bankruptcy stay on your credit for 10 years, and late payment information will stay on your credit for 7 years. So if you live in a state like California where it's 4 years for the statute of limitations, just understand that they're going to go ahead and report for 7 years. So just because one issue gets fixed doesn't mean the other one's going to automatically get fixed. If you guys want to go and try to challenge some of those, go ahead and do so, but just wait till the statute of limitations is up, so that door is closed. Because if you go ahead and piss off the wrong debt collector, trust me, guys, some of these guys are basically overrun with files, because these guys are buying these files for pennies on the dollar, and I'm going to tell you guys what they're paying and when you can pay later on in the video if you guys are looking for an outstanding deal. And I'm going to give you guys some references to books, because I've read a lot of books. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys one book that I would highly suggest that you guys should read. So let's talk about letters now. When you're dealing with debt, you are going to come across letters. They're going to have to go ahead and mail you letters. Sometimes they have certain dates that they have to go ahead and hit. So they have to sometimes get you a letter in 5 days of making a call to you. Sometimes you have 30 days to respond. And also, you can do nothing. So unless you're looking to go ahead and settle and you have this as part of your plan, I might suggest you take the option of not doing anything, especially if you're dealing with a junk debt collector, as again, these guys are going to go ahead and lower their amounts as time goes on, because the people that call you on the phone have basically no power. All right, so let's look at an example. This is a very generic example of a debt collection letter. It will go ahead and have the name of the company. And there's a lot of rules when it comes down to debt collection. So they can't even have the justice scales as part of their logo. That is definitely going to be a rule breaker. There's a lot of little things they have to do right to get you to possibly pay. And so one of the things they have to go ahead and do is mail out this letter to you guys, and you don't have to do much. All you have to do is go ahead and keep these letters. But let's look at what this letter actually does. It goes ahead and gives you their information. Sometimes it'll have a phone number, and it will let you know who the alleged debtor is and why it's sent to the collection, because maybe they got sold from one company to another company, and this is going to be a common practice. Sometimes your debt can get sold over and over, maybe 10, 15 different times from company A to company Z. This happens all the time. And so it'll go ahead and let you know this is a collection, and it should let you know this is a debt collection, and any information can be used for that debt. And what you want to go ahead and pay special attention to is this juicy part at the very bottom. Obviously, on this example, there's no juicy notes, but the juicy notes will be there. It will go ahead and let you know your rights, and you want to have different letters to compare to other ones, because if one of these collection agencies went ahead and mailed you something and did not let you know your rights, well, that is definitely going to be a rule breaker. And again, we're going to talk about possibly making money out of the situation if you are interested in making money from it. I personally have never gone this route towards credit cards, but I'm going to share an experience with you guys later on where I had somebody try to go and collect a debt that I was not responsible for. I was just an employee. These guys were really, really bad. So I had to go ahead and stick it to them. I'm going to show you guys how to go ahead and stick it to other people if they want to go ahead and play this weird game. Just realize by not doing anything, you are not giving up any rights, because this is part of a game. So pay special attention to the very bottom right here, and do not make a photocopy of this. Keep the original of this, because on the back of these notices, this is where all the rights and all the fine print is also located. On top of that, later in the tax years, you're going to get a 1099, and the IRS will go ahead and say that this is a taxable event because you don't have to pay this money. They want to go ahead and make money off this. Well, the only way you can get out of this is by saying that you're insolvent. Again, I'm not an attorney. I am not a tax professional. I am just sharing my experience with you guys, and maybe this will provide you some insight on what you could possibly do. So keep all your letters. When you guys get these debt collection notices over here, you're going to go ahead and start getting phone calls. Just understand that phone calls can only come in during certain times. Texts are basically kind of a gray area in certain places like Texas. They can go ahead and text you that you've been summoned, and that sucks. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Texas later on. And there's a certain amount of times they can call you, certain hours in the day. There's going to be certain people they can call, certain kinds of messages they can and cannot leave you. So I'm going to give you guys some tips on this at the end of the video here. So keep a log of each particular creditor in a notebook. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It could just be a regular notebook right here. So you might want to write down capital one here. And every time you interact or you get a phone call, go ahead and log it in right here. Write the time, the date, and what it was about. And when they call you, they have to do certain things. One of the things that they have to do is read you this thing called a mini Miranda. So basically it says, this is an attempt to collect a debt. Any information will be used for that purpose, yada, yada, yada. You guys get the idea here. I had to say that a lot when I was a debt collector, and I get the reason for saying it because these debt collectors are very, very sneaky. So sometimes they'll reach out to you and just say, hey, Bill. Hey, yeah, this is Bill. Oh, okay, Bill Stevens, right? And then they get you to warm up, and then basically now they're getting you to acknowledge the debt. Whenever you get one of these phone calls, guys, please make sure when the person says, hey, I'm calling you about this account, just realize you do not have a relationship with this person. Unless that they're calling from the original creditor, let's say from Capital One, then you do have a relationship with them, but you still don't have to acknowledge anything. You can just go ahead and say, hey, please call me at a later time. Don't call me again. Or go ahead and call me at this time if you want to go ahead and speak to them. I suggest do not speak to them unless this is part of your plan and you have a budget for taking care of this, because at the end of the day, they're only calling about money. So do not enter into a payment plan and only pay once you have a lump sum available. And I'm going to tell you guys, as far as a percentage that is normally out there in the industry, they say anywhere from like 80% down to 35%. But I'm going to share with you guys the real number just from my own experience on what I found, so you guys will have a better idea, because I really searched for this just from reading and I could not find a lot of information. Since I went through this, I went ahead and kind of kept track of everything, so I'll share that with you guys. So when you get these collection calls, text, whatever it is, guys, always ask for proof of ownership that they own the debt. Ask them for their bill of sale. And I'm going to show you guys some generic bill of sales. You really want a specific bill of sale that has your account listed, how they calculated the amount that they're saying you owe them, and also ask them if they are past their statute of limitations, because sometimes these bill collectors will go ahead and tell you like, hey, this bill is due, but you really are past the statute of limitations, just because I said there's a little gray area as far as the time of default. And I'm going to share this with you guys on how you can go ahead and look this up on your own in case you want to go ahead and not rely on them, because these junk debt collectors, guys, they will go ahead and make up fictitious documents just to go ahead and get you to pay. They will go ahead and get people to testify that they work for the company but not as an employee, and that they know this system here on how it was calculated, but they've never worked there. So again, the debt collection companies will say basically anything to get you to pay. So for best results, guys, honestly, just let it go to voicemail. And one thing when you're dealing with these debt collection companies is they often sell your debt from the original creditor, and the original creditor will then go and put restrictions on what the junk debt collector can do. And some of the restrictions actually include taking you to court. So the only thing they may be allowed to do is call you and harass you, but they're not allowed to go and take you to court. But these guys don't want to go ahead and reveal that information to you, as it would go ahead and get this thrown out of court. So you're really going to have to go and peel back this onion several layers to find out what they are not allowed to do based on the guarantees of that particular sale. Just realize that when the original creditor is selling your debt to a junk debt buyer, that there's some guarantees and some wording in there that is very specific and very useful, because they'll sometimes state like, hey, we don't go and verify any of this information that we are giving you. So they could have the wrong name, the wrong social, the wrong amounts. And how can you be asked to pay the wrong amounts if they can't show you exact detailed proof that you went ahead and you did all of these activities that led to this amount? And when I was in the debt collection business, guys, I don't really know if I have to do this, but it was sucked. It was a horrible job. Buffalo, New York, cold. I had a horrible boss from New York City. I would say cold person again. But the buffalo wings were good, and I would go to work, and here's what happens. You basically log into work, you have a headset, a person gets dialed up, and I get told that Mr. Smith owns some money, but Mr. Smith thinks he owes the money, but he doesn't know that I don't have any proof that he actually owes the money. So now you guys know what to do when you guys get these letters. Your options are going to be to go ahead and respond and ask for verification that they own the debt, ask for certain elements, like we asked, how they calculated it, ask for the bill of sale, and you're going to find out really quick that these guys are not going to play by the rules, and they're just going to go ahead and pass you around because they're getting paid there to go work. And guess what? This is your day off. And they really just want to go ahead and get you tired so you can go ahead and pay. This is the whole game. So if they're going to go ahead and play a game with you guys, I'm going to ask you a question now. Do you want to go ahead and play the same game back with them, or are you just going to go ahead and give up and pay, right? So this is a question I want to go ahead and plan in your mind now, because as we get into this video, we're going to get into some things that you're going to have to go ahead and decide. So let's just say you're not very good at playing this game with these creditors. They're going to successfully one day win, and they're going to win by doing certain things. And one of the things that they did is they sent you the letter, they called you, and you made it very easy for them to go ahead and find you. So they found you, and now they're going to go ahead and go down to the court. They're going to file, and now they're going to go and give you service. So they're going to come to your house or your work and give you a letter saying, hey, you've been summoned to court. Well, when you get this letter to go to court, you want to not be afraid. You actually kind of want to prepare for this, because it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I'm going to show you how to go around this whole thing so you're never served, because there are some rules that they have to go ahead and meet depending on where you live. Let's get back to getting served. So you got served. So now you have a couple of options. You can either go and prepare for trial, or you can get legal help. Just realize that this might be a great opportunity for you to take advantage of the situation, as the people that are involved now versus the people that called you originally that didn't have any power and were basically just making empty threats and trying to shame you, now have the power to go ahead and dramatically reduce these bills in half to maybe 35% of the original balance. And they want to go ahead and avoid court, because if they go to court, they're going to go take up extra time, and they don't want to do that. Sometimes they have nothing solid. All that came to them was just an Excel spreadsheet that had your name, social, your address, and your phone number, and told them who the creditor was and the amount. They don't have any proof, or they have very little proof. They can't really accurately, under oath, say that they know how this amount got calculated. They can make statements that are not really accurate. They do perjury because they get a non-employee to write down that they work with this company. They do all kinds of stuff, and you'll be surprised as you ask for it. It'll go ahead and get produced, but it'll be dated the day before you ask for it, even though they bought this account 6 years ago, and that the company that sold them the account has been out of business 5 years ago. So you kind of just start scratching your head and you try to figure out what's going on. And if you guys are thinking that these guys are making it up as they go along, yes, guys, that's exactly what they're doing. They are all in bed with one another, and this is just a funny situation. So they do not want to go to court. They want to go ahead and settle. So the original creditor, go ahead and settle with them. If you got a junk debt collector that is suing you and they actually served you, you can go ahead and get legal help or prepare for a trial yourself. So if you go ahead and get legal help, an attorney might take your case for free, because remember what we talked about earlier? You kept all your letters. You also have a log of all the times you talked to them, right? You went ahead and you did what I'm going to ask you to do in this video, so they really don't have anything solid on you. In fact, they're going to go ahead and just scramble for evidence, and somehow or another things just happen to fall apart. A good attorney will go ahead and pick the meat off their bones, as they have nothing solid. And so just know that when you are summoned to court, do not stress yourself out. It does happen, guys. I actually got summoned by Discover. This is about 14 years ago now, so 2008, 2009. Guess what, guys? Nothing happened. No judgment, nothing. So just because something gets served to you doesn't mean that it actually is beneficiary for that particular company to go to court. It's just going to take up more time. One thing that I learned in the finance world was there was no point in me wasting money to go and collect from somebody that was never going to pay me. I realized that. And one of the best things you can do is to go ahead and make sure that you are not easy to locate. And we're going to go ahead and cover that, because remember I asked you guys earlier if you want to play hardball. Well, here's a hardball strategy. You have to be able to be reachable, and you got to be findable. So they have a certain amount of time that they have to find you. Well, guess what, guys? You can make yourself pretty darn hard to find. You can go ahead and do certain things, and one of them is going to be you can go and divert all your mail to a certain address. Well, at that other address, there's nobody that can actually go and receive the mail for you when it's being served by a person, right? This situation, I'm going to cover that with you guys. So let's talk about hardball strategies here, because when you ask the debt collector to go ahead and furnish you information, they didn't want to play ball. They don't have it, and you know that they don't have it. So guess what, guys? You can either wait it out, or you can go ahead and now just take a chance that they're not going to go and pursue this because they realized it. And if they decide to pursue it, you already know that you got the ace card. Very first thing you can do, guys, is you can get yourself a P.O. box. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, why would I want to go ahead and get a P.O. box? Well, a P.O. box from the US Postal Office is a pretty cool solution. Well, here's the reason. When you're dealing with a P.O. box, not a private mailbox service like UPS, the United States Postal Service cannot receive anything that is being summoned or being served to a person. So that particular location is not part of the regular rules. So for example, if you had an account at a mailbox, etc., a UPS store, and I was a process server and I wanted to go ahead and serve you with the summons to come to court, I can go ahead and say, well, I'm trying to serve this to this person. They can either collect it on your behalf and call you that you got this notice, or I can go ahead and ask where your previous address was, even if you wouldn't close that an account. So either way, they got you by the horns if you go with a private mailbox service. So you want to get yourself a P.O. box at the United States Postal Service, and this will keep you from getting served. You want to make sure that anybody that lives at the physical address, in case it's still reporting on your credit bureau, and we'll talk about getting rid of these other addresses in a few seconds, you want to make sure the person does not answer the door and they don't acknowledge that you live there, and they don't have to really say anything. If somebody knocks on your door, you don't have to answer the door, guys. There's no rules that say you have to answer the door. None. So just kind of be aware of that. So let's talk a little bit about getting your information off the internet. So you might be asking yourself, where are these companies getting my information so they can go ahead and serve me? Well, that's a great question, guys. Guess what? Your information is sold by a bunch of companies like Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, yada, 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 to other companies for skip tracing. And what you can do with those companies is you can politely ask for them to delete your credit profile. So this is a really easy thing to do, especially in states like California. You do not want to opt out. You want to ask for them to delete your credit profile. And the only time you wouldn't want to do this is if you're going to go and get a home loan or a mortgage the next 6 months. If you're behind on your credit cards, I don't think you're going to be doing that, but I did want to let you guys know that. I have a video on how you can go ahead and delete your credit profile. This is not delete your credit score or your payment history. This just goes and eliminates some of the extra information that is attached to your credit profile. And some of this can be interest, it can have relatives information, anybody you previously lived with, their phone numbers, their email addresses. When you guys watch the video in its entirety, I'm going to leave you guys some links. And if you pop your name into some of these websites for free, you're going to say, oh my God, everything is here. Your date of birth, your addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, your parents' name, their email addresses. It's all there, guys. So you want to get yourself offline. And there's a pretty cool company that I use. It's called DataSeal.io. At the end of the video, I'm going to leave you guys a clickable link. You guys can check them out. I'll leave you guys a review video as well. And they normally cost about $10 a month. And they'll go ahead and do this for you. But if you're broke, and I understand that you don't have $10, I'll leave you guys another video link so you can go ahead and do it on your own. It takes about 30 minutes. And guess what, guys? I actually recommend doing it yourself the very first time, just so you know how much of your information is really out there. And when you guys see this, you guys are going to get really pissed off. And then you're going to go and do something about it, which is what I actually want you to do. The reason I made the video. So now you went and got yourself a P.O. box. You deleted yourself from the internet. And third, you asked the credit bureau to delete your information that was not really necessary. They don't need to know the names of your siblings, as that is not relevant, and their information, because these guys will go and harass your siblings as well if possible. So how are you going to make yourself more unreachable? So the creditor already figured out that you may have a new address, that address cannot get a summons there, and also that information for your siblings and skip tracing is not really an option for you, because mysteriously you're not as easy to find as one would think. So you've done all those things, but they're going to continue to call you. So what are you going to do there? Well, guess what, guys? You don't have to answer the phone. If you guys have a modern phone, nothing fancy here, guys, you can put the phone on Do Not Disturb, and all it will do is will go ahead and only let the calls that come in from your loved ones or your friends that are in your address book. It actually makes life really easy. I adopted this theory back in the days from dealing with this credit card statute of limitations issue. And guess what, guys? I actually continue to operate this way just because my time is very private. So I don't want to get calls from scammers, from people that are basically going to go and get me to hit one on my keypad because somebody bought an iPhone 14 on Amazon. If you guys get weird calls like this, guys, please let me know down below, as it's literally crazy that we allow these voice over internet calls to come into America and allow all the citizens to be harassed by these scammers from across the world. It's insane. But nonetheless, you can go ahead and put your phone on that mode, or you can get a new number. And I know getting a new number sometimes sucks because you have a lot of friends and family that know your number, but that's something for you to think about. And Do Not Disturb is a really good feature, so take a look at that. And just in all honesty, getting served in certain states is very easy. For example, in Texas, you can get served via text, social media post. So just watch out for places like Texas where you don't physically have to get served. If you guys ever decide to go ahead and go that route of getting a P.O. box, just know the difference between a P.O. box and a PMB, or private mailbox service. There's a huge difference. So do some additional research on this, and you guys are going to figure out what I'm trying to tell you guys in this video, that United States Postal Service is literally treated in its own special category, and it's a pretty cool trick to not get served. If you're enjoying this video, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. And one thing that I want to give you guys is my personal recommendation when it comes down to the video sponsor, which is going to be DataSeal.io. This company is a company that I've used myself for the last year. So I'll leave you guys a 1-year review at the end of this video. And this company will go ahead and delete your online information. Because if you guys are not aware of it, all your information is online. So your date of birth, your address, your phone numbers, your email addresses are out there. And scammers don't need to go through your garbage, because honestly, it's so much easier to find people's information. You can just go to the website and there's no need to register, and you can get all their info. So check out DataSeal.io if you guys want to go ahead and protect yourself like I did. It is going to be very, very easy to do, and it's just going to go and set that whole process of keeping you offline on autopilot. So check them out. I'll leave you guys a link at the end of this video here. And one thing that I like to do is always prepare for the worst. So I have a company called LegalShield. They're like $30 a month. They cover you, your kids, your spouse, and I pay for them every month, as I'm hoping that I never have to use that company, but in case something really bad happens, I can go ahead and call them and they'll kind of handle it for me on the smaller issues. Really quick, I'm going to show you guys what LegalShield does. So in the description of this video, you guys will find a link. And also at the end of the video, I'll leave you guys a clickable link. You can click on it. It'll take you directly to the website. If I find any special offers or any way of saving you guys money, I'll leave it in the description box down below. Choose your state. Once you choose your state, it'll go ahead and put you on this page here, and you can view all the different plans. I am paying $29 a month, and so you can save yourself a little bit of money, I guess, by getting the annual plan. This is how it's working. So I need to switch myself, and let me show you guys my exact portal when I log in, because I have a private account that I've had for quite a while. Okay, so I'm in my account here. As you can see, it's a pretty basic platform, and they do have an app. I have the app downloaded, and I also have the phone number to the law firm that represents me in my phone. If I ever need it, I'm going to show you guys why this is so important, so you can protect yourself and some additional family members. So I have a total of 3 additional people covered, and they do have a little perks section, which is pretty cool, and you get some additional savings at places like Costco if you guys want to check that out. And this is how you could request a consult. They have the app right here. You can scan that. So this is the information from my attorney. It's already listed in my account. And here are some of the things that they can help with. They can help with general issues. And check this out. They could do a letter or a phone call, personal, trial defense if you need it, auto. So if you have a speeding ticket, they can help you out with that. Estate planning and some family law. And if you run into some financial issues, they can assist with that. Income tax, audit services, residential loan, document assistance. So they have a pretty good product here. And as I said, I've had this for a very long time, and I have no plan on ever canceling it. As I said, it's just added insurance in case something does happen. And if you guys go through the actual policy, you guys will often find that there's going to be so much added benefits. So it's nice to know that there's services like that around, since you're not paying that $800 month credit card payment. You may want to look into companies like that, especially during this time that you're playing this waiting game with these credit card companies. And just know that there's a difference also between being served and also them filing a complaint. So they can go to court and file a complaint and not serve you. And this basically stops the time. So this is a little tricky area, and I don't have a lot of information for you guys on this because it's never happened to me, so I can't really relay it. But if the debt junk buyer went ahead to court and they did this, you may have to really look at other alternatives. And we're going to talk about some other alternatives if you're really over your head. And maybe those are options that you need to consider. And what's going to happen if you don't respond to the summons, guys? If you don't answer the summons in the 14, 20 days, whatever it says on that summons, and you don't go to court, that particular junk debt buyer is going to get a default notice. And whatever was stated as that amount, they're going to be awarded that amount, sometimes for 10 years. And they could garnish your wages. They could possibly levy your bank accounts, put a lien on your house. You never want to give them that power. So even if you reach out to them and you go and reach a settlement agreement with them, don't just think that they're going to go and do the right thing. What they're going to do is they're going to go get that default judgment, and they're going to enter into an agreement with you for, let's just say, $50 a month for the next 20 years. And if you miss a payment, they're going to go back to that original default amount, and they're going to then add on interest, anything else that they're allowed to go ahead and do, and they're going to go and exercise that option. So never enter into an agreement with the credit card company. If you have not answered that actual summons, you want to answer that summons and then prepare for trial. And if you have a company like I said earlier, like LegalShield, it is going to go and protect you. And just so you guys know, 95% of the summons are never answered. So the debt buyer gets that particular judgment awarded 95% of the time just by default. So make sure that you guys always answer those summons if you get served. But since you have a P.O. box, you're not going to get served. Just make sure you do not get caught off guard at home when you happily open that door and they say you've been served. Guys, don't answer that door. You don't have to say who is it. Since you're saving so much money, put a ring on your door. If somebody comes and knocks on your door, you do not have to answer it. Please, guys, do not answer that door if you're going through this. At 30 something percent interest rates on your credit card, let's just say you had $40,000 in debt. I don't want to tell you guys, but I can do the math really quick. It's going to take you a very, very long time to go ahead and pay off that credit card because these rates are actually over the usury limits. And the credit card companies have gone around this. I'm going to tell you guys how at the end of the video. It is just crazy, but your state actually has a protection built in. These guys have gone through and just created a special level for themselves. So yeah, so basically we're getting screwed because of some special interest lobbying, I guess. And if all else fails, guys, you can consider bankruptcy. If you got served and you just don't know what to do, get legal help. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to go and pay one creditor the last few dollars you have and just to find out that you're going to have to go and wipe the slate clean with a bankruptcy anyway. And you may be wishing later that you kept that money and just filed for bankruptcy in the very beginning before you gave one person $1. Since this channel is about keeping it real, last year around I think March or May, I received a text very early in the morning from a company, and the name of the company was Mountain Run Solutions. And this company claimed that I owed them some money. However, this was from 2016, and I was just an employee at the company that they were trying to go and get money from. But the company had done everything in their power to go ahead and meet the conditions of the contract. It was for an alarm company through Monotronics. So it was a 48-month contract. We actually made the 48th payment, but they're saying you did not get notice that you wanted to terminate service. I terminated the service, guys. 100%. I terminated that service. Since this was so old, I don't have access to those emails. And these guys bought it from one company, but they don't have access to the emails as well. But in California, we have a 4-year statute of limitations. So nonetheless, these guys sent me this notice here, and they said I owed them $1,300, and now they're willing to settle for this. I got this via email after I received the text, but I never got anything in the mail. If you don't get things in the mail, guys, I say it's complete scams, as anything official like this has to come in the mail. Second thing was this company was super shady, so I did a bunch of research on them, and I'm going to show you guys how I found out some more information. And I basically filed suit against these guys because now they owe me money. They called me at an off limits time. They didn't verify who I was. And now that all this happened, they're also out of the statute of limitations. Remember my rights? None of my rights are basically defined here, saying that this is a debt that's older than the statute of limitations allows. So this is actually time barred. Time barred means that it's outside that period. I just changed the name here to Rudy Scammer because these guys were awful. And honestly, I know these people are people and they're human beings and they have kids and families, and I used to be one of them. But man, they are seriously sometimes just so egotistical that I don't even know if that's a word I just made up. But I'm pretty pissed off about this particular company. I don't normally like to go and give people the little finger, but I gave these people the little finger, and I'm going to show you guys how I did it. So I asked these guys for proof that this was actually mine. And maybe I got the date wrong here, but I thought it was around March, but they're saying that they bought this debt in January 27th of 2022. Nonetheless, this particular company that I worked for closed back in 2016. It was December 6th was the last day that they operated. And we had actually closed the account before that. They made the 48 payments. All that is there. So nonetheless, this is the bill of sale they sent me. You guys notice that this bill of sale is really not a bill of sale. It doesn't identify my particular situation. It doesn't have the amounts. None of that stuff is actually listed here, right? And it's not signed by anybody. So this is not really a good example of a bill of sale. If you guys are getting something like this, guys, this should kind of raise your spidey sense, letting you guys know you guys might be dealing with a scam artist company, as these companies often are not licensed to do business in your state, and we're going to cover this a little bit more later on. Not only are they not licensed to do business in your state, some states have some crazy requirements. And guess what, guys? I live in the Republic of California, and if you guys are talking about crazy requirements, trust me, guys, California has a lot of them. So you can take advantage of these crazy requirements when they are useful to you, as you can really stick to these people. Let's continue on with this particular company. One thing that I told you guys about earlier was the fact that I was a bill collector. I worked in the finance department, the automotive business, if you guys watched a lot of the videos, and I also ran a dealership. Then I ran a real estate brokerage. I had my mortgage license too. So if you guys notice, this is the national mortgage system here, right? So this lists all the companies that are registered here. And so Mountain Run Solutions, that company that went ahead and tried to get me to pay the $688, is listed here. So it displays some nice, interesting information for you. And if we scroll down a little bit further, we can see that they're actually not licensed in California. So guess what, guys? In California, in order to operate as a debt collector, you have to be registered. None of the employees were registered, as well as the company. So I have a different claim here with the California Department of Business Oversight or Financial Oversight. California has a whole bunch of departments, guys. So nonetheless, they were not able to do business in California because that law for the registration of the mortgage system went into law January 1st, 2022. So maybe they don't know about it. Maybe it was an honest mistake. I personally don't care because this is past the statute of limitations. I try to just set the record straight. And after arguing with them for 3-4 days, guys, I literally just said, okay, I'm done with this. This was taking up too much of my time. So I'm going to show you guys how you can go ahead and benefit from situations like this. And so in conclusion, I'm going to give you guys some tips. And there's quite a few tips here. So tip number 1, on your voicemail, do not state your full name. Because if you state your full name, again, they can go ahead and verify that it's you because you stated your full name. They can now leave you a more descriptive voicemail versus if you didn't state your name, they could have just left you a general voicemail. So never state your name on your voicemail. Just let it be a generic voicemail. Tip number 2, never acknowledge the debt. When they talk about the debt, say, I'm sorry, I really don't know who you are. I don't have a relationship with you unless you're speaking to the original creditor, as these junk debt buyers don't have an actual relationship with you until they verify that they are indeed the owners of that debt. So always call it alleged debt because you do not want to reset the statute of limitations. Tip number 3 kind of goes into tip number 2, which is never make a payment unless it's in one lump sum after you've got yourself a fantastic deal. And in case you guys are wondering, what's the best discount I have seen on a settlement? It's going to be from about 9 to 13%. So for example, if you guys owed $50,000 in credit cards, you got a 10% settlement, which means basically you have to pay 10% of the original amount. You'd end up paying $5,000. And when you pay this, this is going to report to your credit and it is going to show that it's paid, but that it's settled. Sometimes you can actually work this out with the creditor since they possibly purchased it for 1 penny, 2 pennies, 3 pennies, 4 pennies on the dollar. You could maybe get them to go and delete this off your credit bureau. I have actually personally done this with American Express. When I was really, really young, I got myself into some American Express problems because whatever you spend, you got to pay back at the end of the month. I was really young. Second time it happened to me where I got it deleted off my credit profile was I had a shoulder injury, and nonetheless, I settled an amount with the creditor. And for me paying in one lump sum, I asked them to go ahead and delete it off my credit bureau. But before I gave them the money, I asked for them to fax it to me in writing. So if you guys don't have access to a fax, don't worry, just go to, and I will go ahead and display for you guys the exact address. You can get a free fax number. You can use it. It doesn't cost you anything. But get it in writing before you do so if you guys want to go that route and this is part of your actual plan. Guys, if you plan this out, you can literally come out ahead here and make a really bad situation much better and a lot easier to digest. So just go ahead and plan that out. And I'm here to answer any questions that come up. And if you guys ever look at certain banks' information, sometimes they say Bank of America NA. Well, that NA is actually what allows them to charge much higher interest rates than the state maximums. And while we're on the subject of rates, did you guys know there's actually state limits for interest rates? In South Carolina, we can see the actual limit here is 8.75. But if you're in South Carolina right now, you may notice that your credit card interest is much higher than that. And how is this happening? Well, these banks go ahead and register as an NA. And what this NA will basically allows them to do is to go around these state rules. And this happens everywhere. It's not just South Carolina. This is going to affect the whole country. Don't feel bad about playing hardball with these banks because these banks have learned all the tricks and they're going to use every single trick to go and get more of your purchasing power. So if you're going to work every day and you're making a little bit of money, you're paying your rent, your bills and stuff, just realize that these guys just want more and more of your paycheck. That's what actual interest is. They want more and more of your hard work. You're becoming a slave. So learn the rules and learn how to go ahead and fight back. And also, you may realize that while your account is in collections, that has a max rate of sometimes around 10%, but your actual credit card interest rate was 29%, you may be asking yourself how this is. Well, collections have a max cap on interest rates normally around 10%, which is crazy. So when I was current, I was paying you 29%. Now that I'm late and I'm in collections, now my account is capped at 10. So if any of this is making sense to you guys, please let me know because none of this makes sense to me. We live in a really crazy, twisted world where to be a citizen, you literally have to become almost an attorney and think like one. I don't know. I'm getting really off the topic here, guys. Sometimes this life just really drives you crazy because of how much information we have to digest. I just want to live a happy life. I don't want to have to learn all these things. I just want to tell the truth when it happens, how it happens. But these credit card companies don't want the truth. They only want one thing. They want that money, guys. They want part of our hard work. For what? If you guys actually look at interest, interest is crazy because the whole idea that you can benefit from somebody else's hard work, it just seems like a crazy, crazy idea to me. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I'm really, really tired. But I'm going to continue on with this video because I promised you guys I would give you the 359-degree view of this so you guys understand. And don't worry, I'll leave you guys a link for the book and also show you guys that book just for you to check out. It's a good read. And let's just say you're very good at this statute of limitations game and you're past your period in your state and you're being extra sure you wouldn't pass the date plus 6 months. So how do you get the date? You might be asking yourself. Well, you can go on your Equifax credit bureau and it will have the first missed payment. So this is the only credit bureau that actually has that information, or you might have a statement. Nonetheless, you go to that date, that's going to be your date, and that's where the clock normally starts ticking. If I was going to be extra cautious, I would go to that date and add 6 months to it just because you have no idea which loony attorney you're going to deal with. So you want to just give yourself that extra 6-month buffer in case you're going to go this route. And just know once the statute of limitations time is up, that these creditors will continue to call you, they'll continue to harass you, they'll continue to text you if they have your number and you consent it to the text. If you ever receive a text and you don't consent to it, just write stop. It should automatically stop. If they don't, that's a whole different subject here, and you can basically get some money from them. And as I mentioned before, this will continue to report to your credit for the next 7 years. And if you get past the statute of limitations, as I said, you can go ahead and try to go and dispute these. I have removed crazy items off people's credit, like a short sale. I removed a short sale off one of my friends' credit bureaus. She could not believe it. She was like so happy, but it can be done. What does it require? It just requires just some relentlessness, not for a long time. In one day, just dropping that letter in the mail 3 times to 3 different credit bureaus and asking them to prove what they're basically alleging. And guys, these companies do not have it. And if I haven't mentioned in the video, as a debt collector, I only got the person's phone number, email address, some basic information on an Excel spreadsheet, and we don't have anything else. We were just going off what the computer said. Computers are often inaccurate. We don't know if the information there is even relevant. Sometimes people go and pay one collection company, but it actually belongs to another collection company. It's really crazy. The collection industry should be illegal, if not highly regulated, more than it actually is now, because these guys are not only confusing consumers, they oftentimes confuse judges, attorneys. And guys know this about attorneys: for every 10 attorneys you call, there's one good attorney out there, guys, and that one good attorney will go ahead and turn the situation completely around if you guys decide to ever go the legal route and not play the waiting game. They can be a big help. Just be very careful and talk to at least 3 to 4 before you make a decision. I always recommend talking to a few more, just because you'll know a good lawyer from a bad lawyer just from your gut and what they tell you. If they're trying to get you to sign up and give them some money, like I did when I was younger, when I gave that guy $600, guys, those are not the guys you want. You want the lawyer that gets motivated. That fact that when you tell them your story, they get pissed off. These are the best lawyers I've ever met. They take your case personal. And there's still lawyers like that in the world, where they got into practicing law because they wanted to help people. Trust me, guys, they're out there. Just go off your gut instinct when you meet the person and ask them basic questions and ask them what they're going to guarantee from you giving them money. Sometimes I've had attorneys give me a price for 10 times the amount of what the guy that said that he would guarantee it for that little amount. That's crazy. The guy that was going to charge me 10 times as much basically told me the only guarantee here is that you're going to give me the money. And he was right. If I didn't know any better and I was not a logical person, I would have gave him the money just because he was the most expensive. Maybe it's true in automobiles, the more money you pay, the better quality car that you get. But guys, I can tell you guys, that's not even true anymore. I bought 2 brand new Mercedes Benzes, guys, and I hated them both. So as I mentioned earlier, keep all your letters, keep the originals, and this will go ahead and allow you to get out of a bad situation when you get a 1099 charge off from the creditor and the IRS wants you to pay. You can say you're insolvent as of that date. So listen to my instructions here, very detailed. When you're given this letter with 1099, as of that date, were you rich or were you underwater? Did you have more debt than money, or did you actually have physical assets? So if you held $1 million in your bank that day and you had $900,000 in loans, you were basically up $100,000. So they're going to want you to pay for that 1099. So what you want to do is go ahead and illustrate the fact that you were underwater. So maybe that day you had $100,000 in the bank, but you had $200,000 in loans. This could be from your family, your car, your cards, all the other collectors that you owe money to because you kept those particular statements that were mailed to you. These are actually beneficial. Do not destroy these guys. We talked about the advantages of the P.O. Box and how you do not want to get a private mailbox service. P.O. Box is the way to go, unless you live in Texas, guys. In Texas, it's crazy. You can just get a text, and maybe you're out of the country. So what are you going to do? So that leads me to my next point. If you're going to leave the country for more than 30 days, make sure you have that P.O. Box, guys, because if you don't have that P.O. Box, you can get served, and let's just say you're not able to come back in time. Well, you're going to lose by default. Now you have yourself a really bad situation. And now, if you guys take a deep breath, just realize this. When I was going through this whole credit card thing, in my mind, I had a lot of different ideas, right? Can you get in trouble for not paying your bills? Yada, yada, yada. If you guys are really scared about your credit card debt, just know that there's no prisons for debtors. They closed those prisons back in the 1800s. So take a deep breath. You'll be okay. Just have a plan. Make sure you stick to that plan and have a calculated risk. So let's just say you owe $100,000 in credit cards, and out of the 10, only one of them serves you. And now that credit card was for $10,000, and you were able to go and reduce that amount from 10,000 down to, let's just say, 4,000. So now you paid $4,000 for $100,000 of debt. Well, did you come out ahead? Was this part of your plan? Those are things that you need to go ahead and ask yourself. That will really give you some insight on which direction you want to go, whether it's bankruptcy or you just want to do the waiting game, or if you run into some money and you want to pay the whole thing off, you have that option. And now we're going to move on to tolling. So tolling happens when a debtor or the person that had the credit card has moved out of the country. Let's just say they moved to another country and the creditor can prove it. They actually have to show the burden of proof. They can extend that if the person moved out of the area for X amount of time, they'll go ahead and extend it out X amount of time. This is very rare. And if you're considering moving from state to state, so let's just say you lived in California and the statute of limitations there is for 4 years. So you lived in California for 5 years after that statute of limitations started. So you'd be in the clear if you moved. Let's just say you moved from California to North Carolina, maybe 6 months after the default happened. What normally happens is they go with a shorter period. So with something like this, if you want to get technical, you got to talk to an attorney to find this out. I don't know if they would know, as you're talking about different states. Sometimes different laws can kick in, but normally it's going to be the shorter of the two. So if you're going from California to a state that has a 15-year period, you might be covered under the California statute. But if you're going from a 4 year period down to a 3 year period, well, you might actually benefit if that state lets you have residency. Different states have different residency requirements. And if I didn't mention it twice already, make sure you have a notebook with each creditor on a separate sheet. Keep a log of all the different times you talk to them. And hopefully your log doesn't have a lot because you should not be answering your call. There's nothing that's going to happen, guys. The people that are calling you are not the real decision makers. They're not going to give you some crazy deal. So I've tried it over and over. And again, I only saw really, really great results towards the end, but I didn't even pay that because I realized I was a month away from having to pay zero. So keep a log of all the interactions you have with each creditor. And if you want even better results, you can track the amount that each creditor is offering you, and you guys will see a pattern that normally is going down. So remember how we talked earlier about, is that particular company licensed to do business in your state? Well, this is that company that we talked about earlier, and I'm using the system here, and you just type this into Google, consumer access, type in their name, and we can see that this company, not only are they not licensed in California, it looks like we got a revocation here, and that pretty much everybody's shutting these guys down. So if we click this right here, they're not authorized to even do business in the states that they once were about 7 or 8 months ago. This is really useful, and you can go ahead and file an additional lawsuit or complaint with this particular agency. And these are federal agencies, guys, so pay attention to this. In California, it's not the only state on here. It's California, Nevada, and also whatever is shown on this map. And there might be more states than this now. So this is going to keep growing. This is a trend, and they want to regulate these debt collectors because these debt collectors are out of control. And here's a good example of a debt collector. This is SPS, and they list their license numbers in each state. So these guys have to do a whole bunch of compliance work all the time to be on time and to make sure that that license is good. during the time they're trying to collect. So there's going to be a lot of gray area like this. So just do your own research. So this is the book that I recommend. This is the one that I found most helpful when I was actually going through this subject here and trying to figure out how to go ahead and put this video together. So I put a lot of time into this video. You guys notice it's quite late and I'm very, very tired, but I'm going to go ahead and knock this video out for you guys. I'll have a link to this. It's on Audible, and you guys will find it in the description box down below. And before you pay one company $1, just know that sometimes bankruptcy is the answer, and there's some bankruptcy terminology that you want to understand. Chapter 7 is going to be the easiest one, and this will basically allow you to have a clean slate. It will report on your credit bureau for 10 years, but you don't normally have to make any kind of payments. There's another one called Chapter 13 where you can keep some assets, possibly your house, other things like cars, but you'll have to make a payment for the next 60 months, which is normal, and you will have to go and get permission from your trustee anytime you want to buy a car, and it's kind of an annoying process. I've seen a lot of clients come into the dealership and go this route if they had a house. So Chapter 7 is going to be a really good option. Just talk to an attorney before you pay one person one dime, unless it meets your criteria for your plan. Remember that plan? We never want to give $1 to one creditor, only to find out that we should have gone bankrupt in the very first place, and now we don't have any money because we paid two creditors $20,000. Now we owe an additional $80,000. But we don't have it. So keep that in mind. And I'm here for you guys. If you guys got any questions, please let me know. I'm always here to help. If there's something that I left out in this video, please let me know down below. And guys, just let you know, I'm really, really tired. If I think of anything else, I'm going to come back in the morning. All right, guys, so I took a nap. I'm back. I got some energy again. This has been a very long video, but I do want to make sure that I cover everything with you guys and give you guys some really cool tools. And speaking of tools, this is going to be the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. I'm going to have a link to this below, because what you're going to do is use this to go ahead and get the debt collection company exactly where you need them, which is basically off your back, and they can go ahead and basically terminate their collection practices, because what you're going to do now is you're going to go super ninja on them by doing the following. So if you notice, every time they call you, they say something like, "This call may be recorded." Well, if you're picking up the phone, go ahead and pick up the phone. On your phone, there's going to be a lot of cool apps, and one of the apps is going to be this recorder. You can go ahead and hit record, and you want to make sure your microphone is on. And when your microphone is on, you can practice it on another phone call. When they call you, go ahead and record. They basically gave you consent to record, and just to let them know the following: you don't have any money and you refuse to pay, and you don't see yourself having any money in the near future. Go ahead and save that recording, download it somewhere, and then take out a piece of paper and respond back to their letter when you get it in the mail, and write that same exact statement, as I'm going to show you why. And you want to make sure you register mail this, so where you're going to get a tracking number back, so it's first class, and you're going to get proof of service that they got the letter, because they're going to have to sign, and the mail service will send it back to you. If you're married, go ahead and have your wife write the letter and make that statement. I'm going to display the statement for you on the screen, and it's for the following reason. So if we actually come down here, this is the rule number right here, 1692. So if you go down right here, we're going to go to section C. Basically, you're stating that you're refusing to pay the debt, and now that particular collection company has to cease communication with you. So they can only communicate with you because of these three reasons right here. So if it's not one of these three reasons, they cannot call you, they cannot further communicate with you. And if you guys scroll down a little bit more over here, in section D right here, lets you know that this can include a parent or a spouse. So have your spouse write this letter, drop that in the mail, and now you got them exactly where you need them to be, which is basically going to give them only a few options. And if you guys notice, one of the options right here is going to be if they're terminating collections further, right? These two other ones right here basically lets you know that they're going to go and do other things. Nonetheless, you're not going to get harassed anymore. just make sure before you go ahead and send out this letter that you went ahead and did some of the things that I talked to you about earlier in the video. And if I haven't said it already, if you're married, make sure your spouse knows about this, because you do not want a creditor calling your spouse. Your spouse makes some sort of promise, and this goes and resets the whole statute of limitations, as you're going to get really angry, as you should have told your spouse about this. And then make sure whenever you're communicating, go ahead and do it with snail mail. And just know this, just because you fell behind on 1 or 2 or 3 credit cards does not mean that all your creditors are going to close your account. So when this happened to me, not all my creditors closed my account. So what they did do is they went ahead and they reduced my limits, which is understandable. So you don't have to go ahead and burn the whole house down, as you can go ahead and keep some of your credit ratings. And just know that if you decide to pay 1 year collections, because of the credit bureaus, they're going to go ahead and have access to your credit profile. So you want to go ahead and freeze some of your credit profiles, because you're not going to be asking for credit anyway. And these credit bureaus are going to go and alert these guys that, hey, there's a new settlement on this. And the second they see you're settling with another collection company, they're going to call you, and they're not going to give you the same exact kind of terms, as they know that you're trying to possibly buy a house, improve your credit. So be very careful what information you relinquish to who. So if you're going to a car dealership, understand that the credit bureaus make money several different ways. They sell the car dealership the credit report, so they charge them $3 to $10 for that particular credit report. And also the car dealership will enter in your information in dealer track or route 1, and then they'll send you to the bank. The bank goes and enters your information in, so they'll go ahead and update your address, your phone number, and they'll also put in your employer. So if you lost your job and didn't have a job for a little while and you thought you were good, the second you go and apply for credit and you put in your new employer's information, understand that they're going to get access to that. So you may really think about reducing your use of credit or applying for new cards during this process. You want to basically make yourself hard prey, and I'm going to cover that with you guys when I break down the math in the debt collection business, as you guys are going to see where you need to basically fit in, as these junk debt buyers understand that not every account that they buy is going to be fruitful or pay up. And you want to be one of these accounts that never pays up or gets them into some sort of weird situation like what I showed you here on the screen, as you're going to be able to go ahead and get this thrown out of court, and potentially after talking to an attorney, you could make some money from this too, just because you had pretty good paperwork. You went ahead and you used snail mail and you recorded the call. You have good evidence. I understand that bad things happen and you did not default on your credit cards on purpose. However, just understand there's some pretty big money to be basically awarded when these debt collection companies break the law, and you're talking about thousands of dollars. So talk to the attorney. Some of them are per day. They can charge and fine that particular collection company $1,000 a day. That's a lot of money. So if you think about it, you can pay all your credit cards off with that money. So let me know if you guys run into that and you get a huge settlement. Go ahead and buy me a coffee down below. You guys will find links to that. Nonetheless, I didn't make the video for that purpose. I made the video so I could bring you guys some value, as I know when you're going through the situation, especially with all the crazy prices that we have these days, that you don't want to sit there and lose sleep every single night wondering about what can happen. And I'm trying to give you guys the best advice. So make sure you guys are hitting that thumbs up button, as I super appreciate it. And if you guys notice, I have close to 900 videos on the channel, but I don't have one of those plaques from YouTube. So I would love to have you guys go and subscribe if you guys are finding this information to be helpful. Know that your account is worth the most when it's fresh, and as your account gets older, it's going to become a little bit less worthless to them. So if you look at some of the examples that I have coming up, as far as how the math works out, sometimes when your account is so old that it's past the statute of limitations, they're maybe buying it at a fraction of a penny, because they're basically worthless accounts, and they're just hoping that somebody is going to get scared by the intimidation tactics and the threat of potentially having a negative account on their credit, that they're going to go ahead and pay. That's what most people do. I've learned this one thing from getting traffic tickets. I always fight every single ticket, as 90% of the times the police officers don't show up. And this has worked for the last 15 years. And I don't have any more speeding tickets or traffic violations because I go ahead and post bail and I go and show up to court, and these guys don't show up. It's just a numbers game. They give out 100 tickets. Out of the 100 tickets, two people are going to fight it, and those two people are going to normally win it, and the other 98% just pay out of default. That's what happens. Just this week, my wife had a court appearance in Fremont, California for a traffic violation, and guess what happened? The police officer didn't show up, she didn't have to pay anything, and she didn't have to go to traffic school. So whenever you're in a situation, guys, go ahead and take that few extra minutes and go and fight for your rights, as you'll be surprised what happens. Most of the times you can go ahead and win by default, and this has happened to me numerous times when it comes down to traffic violations. So next time you guys get yourself into a jam, go ahead and just post bail and show up for court, and you might be surprised. And if you're settling something with a debt collection company, make sure you're not giving them all your relevant information for your new job, your secondary number. If you have any other addresses, do not do any of this until you have an offer in writing. Remember, I told you guys about that e-fax service, and you can go ahead and use that, get that in writing. You do not need to go ahead and update all your information with them. Do not make their job easy, as they're going to go ahead and basically prey on you. They're looking for people that are easy to find and easy to prey on. If you're paying any collection company, make sure you're paying the current collection company that owns that account. So one of the things that I recommend that you do is you start keeping all the envelopes, attach them to the statements, go ahead and staple them. So that way you have the original statement and also the envelope in case they try to go and mix up the date saying this is when you mailed it to you. Because on the front of the envelope, it'll actually have the real date the postal service delivered it to you. So that really helps out. And here's an example of how the actual debt collection business works. So let's just say they buy $1 million worth of debt. They buy it for 5 cents on the dollar. They might be paying 1 penny for your actual account. If 25% of the debtors actually pay, this is going to go ahead and give them $250,000 in gross receivables. And this is during the time of the statute of limitations. Since they win 95% of their judgments by default, another 50% is going to go ahead and equal $500,000. They give up on the remaining 25%. And these people that they give up on are basically going to be unresponsive and untraceable debtors. So remember how we talked about some of the things that you can go ahead and do to not hide yourself, just make yourself harder to find. Those are the things that you want to do because you want to fall in this category right here. And this is the category you want to go ahead and hit, as you're going to go end up paying zero. And so look at how much money these guys are actually making, possible profit. So they made $250 from the 25%, $500,000 because they got a judgment by default, and they can go ahead and exercise that judgment for 5, 10, 15 years. So they made $750,000 gross. They gave up on the other 25%. So their net profit is $700,000. They paid $50,000 for this. So they got a 14x profit before expenses. And so how are you going to get out of this? You want to make yourself very hard prey, and do not make yourself very easy to find, as you're going to go and benefit from this. And maybe you get lucky with sending that letter, and these guys just go ahead and foul it up, as you'll notice that these collection departments actually have something called a compliance department. But these guys in compliance don't actually pay any attention to anything. They just sit there and have their coffee. I've talked to several different people, including the people at the Mountain Run Solutions, and the person that I spoke to in compliance, he was a complete jerk, to say something nice about him. And I'm going to tell you guys, that guy did not know his job. And if I wanted to, I can go ahead and press on this issue more and more. I do have kids. I got to go live life. And I am not looking to cause anybody trouble, but I just don't want anybody giving me a hard time in life. And if you guys do go bankrupt, just understand this, that they're going to go ahead and require 12 months of bank statements, and go ahead and use that information for whatever you want to go and use it for. But understand that if you're going and giving some money back to your family members because they gave you a loan, well, some of that stuff might come up during the court process if it was in the last 12 months. So you want to go ahead and possibly see what you can do to not go and raise a million questions on these 12 months of bank statements. Keep everything very simple. Keep your accounts clean in case this is a route you have to take. No one wants to do this, but it's better to have that option available than having to go work the rest of your life just to go ahead and pay some interest or juice on a credit card that you fell behind on. And I wanted to leave you guys off with some good positive information at the end. Just understand that not everything is lost. This one particular time in history with credit cards is not going to go and make or break who you are as a person. And this too shall pass. So don't go and be too hard on yourself. If you lost some sleep in the past, I hope this video gave you guys a little bit peace of mind. You guys took some notes. You're going to go ahead and do some of the things that I told you to do in this video. And I hope I gave you guys some pretty good insights. I'm here for you guys. And this video really took a lot of work, and I'm not even done with the editing. So I probably am going to end up putting close to about 10 to 15 hours worth of work in here. So make sure if you guys have family members that are going through this, share the video with them, guys, because these credit collection companies all work together to keep everybody just very low, and they want to go and try to take advantage of people's ignorance because we just don't know any better. When I was younger, I did not know any better. If I knew what I knew now, I would actually make some money from this. Instead, I lost sleep. I think I probably have a few white hairs if you guys don't see it from this experience. You walk 2 feet forward and 1 foot back. So as I'm making this video, guys, I realized that my Data Seal IO subscription actually expired for my wife, and her information started popping up all over Google. So I've been writing these emails back and forth to get her information deleted. I did reactivate my Data Seal subscription, so I'm glad that's going to take care of it in the future. However, I want to get this offline ASAP, and so I've been writing all of these. And here's that traffic ticket that I told you guys about. Personal information back online, which is definitely not a good thing. However, traffic ticket is gone. I'm going to leave you guys with some final tips so you guys can go ahead and do your best to go ahead and stay out of court. And I'm going to give you guys one more ninja move that I thought about so you guys can go ahead and get out of showing up for court. So just as a reminder, always answer the summons. When you are served, in case you get served, you want to make sure you set a reminder on your phone on the spot to go ahead and answer that summons. And you only have 3 choices. You're going to agree with the information, disagree, or you're going to say you don't have enough information to make a decision. You do not have to tell your side of the story. This is a very simple process. All you got to do is go ahead and take the allegation right next to it. I disagree with this, and go on to the next allegation. This is all you need to go ahead and do to answer the summons. Do not tell your side of the story. Do not self-incriminate yourself. And when you're filing your answer, to go ahead and get it stamped by the clerk, you want to take 3 copies with you. 1 for the court, 1 for the other attorney, and 1 for your files with an original stamp. Just know if you do agree with the allegations, you're going to go and open up the door to a summary judgment. So basically, the judge is just going to go ahead and award them the default because you agreed to all of the allegations. And in most cases, there's no grace period. So make sure you file that answer as if they are awarded the default. Just understand that it's going to go from $3,000 you might have owed to $9,000 because they're going to tack on interest, attorney's fees, everything else they can go ahead and just stuff into that lawsuit. And when you show up to court, understand that you're going to get a chance to cross-examine the other side. And I'm going to leave you guys a video of a cross-examination in court so you guys will see how this whole process works. And understand this, that the junk buyer knows nothing about the original creditor, how they go ahead and operate, how they calculated your fees, and if the information is correct. And this little cloud of information is going to go and allow you to introduce hearsay, and hearsay is going to go and get this dismissed out of court. And I'm going to share with you guys one little tip. If you did get served and you do not want to go to court, but when you sign up for that card, there was actually a provision in the card agreement that allowed for you to go ahead and invoke private arbitration. So you need to go on Google, type in the name of the card, the year, and you can download that card agreement. And you want to go ahead and petition to invoke private arbitration. And most of the time, the debt collector is going to go ahead and choose not to go the private arbitration route because it's very expensive. They have to pay upfront fees, and it's going to get very, very tricky for them. And they just want to go and get the easiest money on the table. So they're going to go ahead and basically overlook your file. This is what happens about 90% of the times. So this is an option, and just know if you did get served, you can still go this route. Just look up the card user agreement and go ahead and invoke private arbitration. And in case you get anything from another law firm stating that they can defend you in your case, but you've never been served, just understand that most likely what happened is that the creditor filed a complaint against you, but they didn't serve you, maybe because you were hard to find. I don't know. Nonetheless, if this period extends for such a long time, you could actually ask the court to go ahead and dismiss for failure to prosecute. And whenever you are asking a court to dismiss something, ask for them to do it with prejudice. And what this means is that the creditor can't go and file that same complaint again the next day. And this is going to go ahead and keep you out of that loop or double jeopardy. If we were in a murder trial, you want to go ahead and stay away from situations like this. So ask for dismissal with prejudice. And as I stated before, when you're applying for credit, just understand that it's a roadmap for debt collectors to go ahead and garnish your future paychecks and levy your bank accounts by the information that you are supplying on that credit application. So during this period of the waiting game, you want to be very, very careful, as I stated many times throughout this video, of not supplying more information than you need to. And you shouldn't be really applying for credit unless you really need to get yourself some new wheels to get to work. I'm going to leave you guys lots of cool references at the end of this video, so go ahead and check those out. You're going to see all the links that I mentioned during this video at the end here and also in the video description box down below. If there's anything that I missed, please let me know. As Forrest Gump would say, well, that's all I got to say about that. This is all I have to say about credit card statute of limitations. As you guys saw in the video, the credit card companies, the debt collectors, the junk debt collectors, all have a big advantage on the public, which is basically they know the laws, they know how to play ball. And I hope this video helps you guys become better ball players with these guys. And you guys will figure out that the playing field is not even. I hope you guys protect yourself. And if you guys need any help, please comment down below. I'm going to leave you guys with some references at the end. I'm going to leave you guys with that link to DataSeal.io. And also, I'll leave you guys the other video to go ahead and delete yourself from the internet. That is completely free. You can do it yourself. It takes about 30 minutes. Just know you'll pop back up. And also, I'll leave you guys some other videos on how you can easily find anybody and how you want to go ahead and delete yourself, and some of the videos that help with that.